Welcome to a deep dive, everybody, into the world of smart maintenance. We're going to be looking at some really interesting research that explores how technology is changing the game for keeping our industries up and running.
Sounds pretty important.
It is. It really is. Our main source here is a paper called, well, get this, Smart Maintenance, a research agenda for industrial maintenance management.
Catchy.
I know, right? And it was published in the International Journal of Production Economics, so you know it's serious stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The big leagues.
But here's the cool part. This paper, it's based on interviews with, get this, over 110 experts from like 20 different companies.
Wow, so it's not just some theory. They're talking to the people on the ground, huh?
Exactly. It's grounded in real world, insights.
That's what we try to do here, right?
Exactly. Cut through all that academic jargon.
Give you the good stuff,
The stuff you can actually use.
the actionable stuff. What I find really interesting about this research is it goes beyond just the techie side of smart maintenance.
Oh, for sure.
It digs into, like, the human side of things,
It's
too.
all.
Yeah, how the workforce needs to, like, level up and adapt.
Absolutely. The researchers, they laid out four key, dimensions of smart maintenance.
Oh, okay. Lay it on me.
And I gotta admit, the one that like really jumped out at me was human capital resources.
Interesting. Why that one?
Well, they basically argue that smart maintenance, it's not about replacing people with robots,
Right.
It's about like upskilling the workforce so they can work with all these new technologies.
It's about augmenting, not
Yeah.
replacing,
Exactly.
making the humans even better.
Yeah. And they specifically mentioned skills like data analysis and, being able to actually interpret all that data.
Which makes sense, right? Instead of just reacting to breakdowns all the time,
Yeah.
you're using the data to, like, predict stuff, prevent things from happening in the first place.
Totally.
That's a whole different ballgame. That requires a whole new set of skills, yeah.
That is such a good point. It makes me think, are we doing enough to like prepare people for this?
That's the question, isn't it?
Are training programs keeping up with all this crazy technology?
I think that is one of the big questions the researchers are posing.
Yeah.
They found that, you know what? There is a gap
Between.
between the skills that are needed for this smart maintenance world
Got it.
and the skills people actually have out there in the workforce,
Whoa.
which is, it's a challenge, but it's also a huge opportunity.
For sure.
For companies, it means they got to step up,
Yeah.
invest in some serious training programs, help people level up.
Makes sense.
And for the workers, it means, got to embrace that lifelong
Or
learning,
never stop learning.
constantly adapting to the new stuff, the new tech.
Yeah.
It's a wild ride.
It's a wild ride. So it's not just companies buying the shiny new toys.
Right.
It's about making sure their people can actually use the darn thing.
Exactly. You got to have the humans who can wield the tech.
That sounds like a pretty big, like, cultural shift.
It is a massive shift. And the researchers actually label that as one of the main challenges. They call it change context.
Change context.
Meaning people, let's be honest, people don't love change.
It can be scary.
It's scary, especially when it comes to their jobs.
Yeah.
There's a fear, of what they don't understand.
Of the unknown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this idea that some algorithm is going to come and take their job,
Oh, yeah. That's definitely a fear. I mean, think about it. If you've been doing something a certain way for years, and suddenly a computer's telling you what to do,
right.
who are you going to trust?
It's a little unnerving.
It's very unnerving. And that lack of transparency, that can be a real barrier.
Yeah, because it's one thing for a computer to tell you what to do, but to
Yeah.
actually understand why it's saying that.
Exactly. That's where the trust comes in.
You need that.
You need to be able to trust these systems. Right. Okay, so we've got this like potential skills gap. We've got people who might not be super thrilled about change. I'm guessing convincing companies to actually invest in smart maintenance, that's got to be a tough sell sometimes, right?
You hit the nail on the head. Another big challenge, they call it investment contexts.
Investment context.
Smart maintenance, it's not free.
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
You got to invest in the tech, in the training. You need the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, the return on that investment, it's not immediate.
Like it pays off.
Oh, it pays off big time, but it's long term.
Oh, I see.
And trying to get, the higher ups to sign off on that, to justify that spending.
Especially in the short term.
It's tough.
It's like explaining to someone why they should get a gym membership.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, it's good for you in the long run.
Down the line.
But that monthly fee,
It hurts.
you feel it.
That's such a good analogy.
Hmm.
And it really emphasizes what the researchers are saying. Companies need to think differently.
Not just about today.
Not just about cutting costs today.
Yeah.
It's about thinking long-term,
The big picture.
building value over time.
So not just about saving a few bucks today, it's about like investing in a future that's like more efficient, more reliable, more sustainable.
You got it. A smart future. And that brings us to another really cool dimension of smart
You
maintenance.
see,
It's called external integration.
external integration.
It's about breaking down the walls,
Yeah.
between companies and their suppliers,
Ah, interesting.
using those digital platforms to share data, to collaborate.
Okay. Now this is where it gets like really interesting because, sharing data,
It's a two-way street.
it can be tricky.
It can be.
On one hand, you could have amazing efficiency, incredible innovation, but on the other hand, companies, they're very protective of their data.
Of course they are. It's their secret sauce.
Right. It's like inviting someone into your home. Like, you got to trust them.
It's a big deal. And the researchers, they totally get that. They
Yeah.
know that trust and security are like the top priorities.
Makes sense.
They talk about the need for, clear agreements,
Yeah.
really good cybersecurity,
Yeah.
making sure everybody understands the risks and the benefits.
So it's like a partnership.
It is a partnership. And like any good partnership, you need communication
Honesty.
and trust. A whole lot of trust.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about building the right relationships.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Meeting those bonds.
Fostering a culture of like trust and, collaboration. That sounds like a pretty tall order.
It's a big one. But the payoff, it can be huge.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Think about it. If companies can share data securely with their suppliers,
Yeah.
they can make their supply chains way more efficient, reduce waste,
It all works better.
everything's smoother.
Wow.
It's like creating this super intelligent ecosystem.
Okay, so we've got the human side of things, the financial side, the collaborative side. What about the why?
The big why.
Like, why are companies even bothering with this smart maintenance thing?
The motivation. Well, the researchers found a few key drivers. And one that's really interesting is this thing called institutional isomorphism.
Institutional what now?
I know it sounds super complicated, but it's actually pretty simple.
Okay, break it down for me.
Basically, companies, they like to do what they see other companies doing.
Oh, so it's like peer pressure.
Exactly. Like peer pressure in the business world.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to be the one left behind,
makes sense.
especially when it comes to tech.
Yeah, because if your competitors are doing the smart maintenance thing and they're getting all the benefits,
You don't want to be stuck in the Stone Age.
you got to keep up.
You got to keep up with the Joneses. But it's not just about appearances, right?
There's got to be more to it than that.
There's going to be some real concrete benefits driving this.
Yeah.
And the researchers, they found another big driver. They call it environmental contingencies.
Environmental contingency.
Basically, it means that the world's changing, tech's changing, business is changing.
Yeah.
And all that change is kind of pushing companies towards smart maintenance.
I see.
Think about it. The cost of sensors, the cost of computing power, it's all going down,
So it's becoming more accessible.
more affordable.
Gotcha.
So it's not just about keeping up appearances. It's about taking advantage of these new opportunities that tech is creating.
So you got to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. Got to ride that wave. And that brings us to the final driver. And this one's all about synergy.
Ooh, I like synergy.
It's a good one. The researchers call it complementarities, but what it really means is the real magic happens when all four dimensions of smart maintenance work together.
So it's not just one thing, it's all of them combined?
It's the whole package.
Okay.
Like a well-oiled machine, Every part's important, but it's how they all fit together that makes it sing.
Got it.
You need the data. You need the skilled people. You need the company to be on board.
Mm-hmm.
And you need those partnerships.
All those pieces.
When you have all that, that's when you see the real power of smart maintenance. That's when the transformation happens.
Okay, so we've talked about the what, the why, some of the challenges, but what about the potential? What can companies actually achieve with smart maintenance?
The payoff.
What's the ultimate prize?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what the researchers found is the potential, it's pretty huge.
Okay, I like huge.
And it goes beyond just one area. We're talking plant performance, how things run on the ground,
Got it.
but also firm performance, the big picture, the whole company.
So it trickles up, huh?
Exactly. It all connects.
Okay, let's start with like the plant level, down in the trenches. What kind of improvements are we talking about here?
Imagine your equipment. It's running smoother, it breaks down less often, and it just keeps going,
Mm-hmm.
lasts longer.
Sounds like a dream.
That's smart maintenance. Improved maintenance performance, it means cutting down on those costs.
Mm.
Repairs happen faster, and that lifespan of your equipment, way longer.
So it's like upgrading your whole production line.
It's like giving it a boost,
Yeah.
making it more efficient, more reliable.
Yeah. Any plant manager would love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's the cool part. These benefits, they don't just stay in the maintenance department.
Oh, they spread out.
They spread. Smart maintenance, it can actually make your whole manufacturing process better.
Wow, the whole thing.
The whole thing. We're talking better productivity,
Yeah.
better quality control. And the whole production flow, it's smoother, you know,
So it's not just about like keeping the machines running. It's about making the whole process better.
optimizing everything.
I like that.
And when you optimize the process at the plant level, guess what?
What?
It impacts the entire company. Better financials,
More money.
more money, increased profits, and you become more competitive.
Because you're running like a well-oiled machine.
Exactly. But, and this is something I think is really important, it's not just about the money, right?
Right.
There are other benefits,
Like what?
like safety,
Hmm.
like sustainability, things that matter.
So smart maintenance can actually make things safer and more eco-friendly.
Oh, for sure. The researchers found some really strong evidence for this.
Okay, I'm all ears. How does that even work?
Well, think about it. If you're using data to predict when something's going to break down, you can stop it before it happens.
Right.
That means fewer accidents, fewer injuries,
Makes sense.
and less downtime.
Yeah.
Also means you're using less energy, fewer emissions.
So it's good for business and it's good for the planet.
Win-win. And more companies, they're starting to realize this. Sustainability, it's not just some feel-good thing anymore.
It makes good business sense.
Exactly. Now, we've talked a lot about different aspects of smart maintenance, but there's one big piece we haven't really touched on yet.
What's that?
The people,
The human.
the humans. How does all this move towards data, how does it affect the people doing the work?
That's a huge question. I mean, is this the robots taking over the world scenario?
Whoa, hold on. Not quite that dramatic, but there will definitely be changes.
Changes to the workforce, you mean?
Some jobs, some tasks, they'll become automated, that's true.
Right.
But here's the thing, new jobs, new tasks, they'll pop up too.
Okay, so it's not just like taking away jobs, it's shifting things around.
Shifting, evolving. And those new jobs, they're going to require different skills.
Different skills. Got it.
And the researchers, they highlighted this. The workers who can really thrive in this smart maintenance world, they're going to be the ones who can look at data,
Make sense of it all.
interpret the trends, and make good decisions based on what they see.
So it's less about like brawn and more about brains.
Got it. It's about using your noggin to solve problems, to optimize.
That actually sounds kind of exciting.
It is exciting. And it's a chance for people to really step up, to embrace those lifelong learning skills.
Keep learning.
Keep learning, adapt to the new tech. That's the name of the game.
But what about the people who like aren't so comfortable with all this change? You know, maybe they've been doing things a certain way for a long time.
That's a real concern. And it's something companies need to be thinking about.
Right.
The researchers found that if you want to make smart maintenance work, you got to shift a whole culture.
The whole culture of the company.
The whole thing.
Wow.
It's not just about buying the fancy new tech. It's about creating a space where people feel supported.
Okay, so there's got to be buy-in from everyone.
Exactly. Give people the training, the opportunities to develop, to grow. Build a culture where people feel like they can collaborate, innovate, and reward the people who are embracing these new ways of working.
It's almost like a whole new way of thinking about work.
It is a new way of thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked challenges, drivers, benefits. But what about the big picture?
Yeah, like way down the line.
Way down the line. How is smart maintenance going to shape the whole industrial workforce?
Yeah.
You know, everything, everybody.
That's a big one.
It's a huge question, and honestly, there's no easy answer.
Right.
But one thing's for sure, smart maintenance, it's not a fad.
It's not going anywhere.
It's here to stay. It's a fundamental shift. It's how we think about maintenance, about work, about the role of tech.
So it's not just fixing things when they break, it's using all this data and tech to stop the breaks from happening in the first place.
You got it. Proactive, not reactive.
Mind blown.
And that shift, it requires a whole new way of thinking, a whole new way of seeing things.
Sounds like we're on the edge of, like, a revolution.
It's a big one.
But what does that mean for the average worker? Like, what skills are they going to need in this new world?
The researchers, they pointed out a few key areas to focus on. Data literacy.
Being able to understand all that data.
Exactly. Being comfortable with it, knowing how to use it,
Mhm.
problem-solving skills, those are always going to be important.
Timeless classics.
Critical thinking, being able to think outside the box.
Creative
And this
solutions.
is a big one, adaptability. The ability to learn new stuff throughout your whole career.
Never stop learning.
Because tech, it's not slowing down. So the people who can keep learning, keep adapting, they're going to be the ones who thrive.
So the future of industrial work, it sounds exciting, but also maybe a little intimidating.
It's both. It's a challenge, for sure. But it's also a chance to make things better, to make work more efficient, more sustainable, more rewarding.
For everyone.
For everyone.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so fascinating about all this. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about the people. It's about how we can use these new tools to build a better future.
For workers.
For companies.
For the planet.
The whole shebang.
This has been really insightful. I feel like I'm starting to wrap my head around this smart maintenance thing, but there's one thing that keeps popping into my head, and it's, of all this data floating around, all this tracking, all this analysis, are there any, downsides? Anything we need to be careful about?
That's a really important point. And honestly, it's something that often gets missed when people talk about tech.
Right.
Smart maintenance, yeah, it's got all this potential, but we got to be smart about it. Got to think about the ethics.
The ethics of smart maintenance. Okay, so what are some of those concerns, things we should be keeping an eye on?
Well, one of the big ones is data privacy. All this data about equipment, about how people are working, even about the environment. It's a lot of information.
It is.
And we got to make sure it's being used responsibly, ethically.
So companies can't just be collecting all this data and doing whatever they want with it.
Exactly. They need to be transparent.
Open about how they're using it.
People need to know what's happening with their data.
Right.
And there's another thing to think about, algorithmic bias.
Algorithmic bias.
The algorithms that are used in smart maintenance, they're only as good as the data they're trained on.
So if the data's messed up,
the algorithm's going to be messed up. And that can lead to all sorts of problems, unfairness, discrimination.
we don't want that.
We don't want that. You got to make sure these algorithms are being developed fairly, ethically.
So they work for everyone.
For everyone. And finally, we can't forget for the impact of automation on the workforce. The jobs. Smart maintenance can create new opportunities, but it could also lead to some job losses.
People losing their jobs.
And we have to be prepared for that.
Right.
We need plans in place to support those workers, to help them transition to new roles.
So it's not just about embracing the tech, it's about thinking about the consequences.
It's about the big picture.
And making sure we're using this tech to make things better.
For everyone. Not just a select few.
I like that. This has been an amazing conversation. We've talked about so much, the technical side, the ethical side, the impact on people.
It really has been a lot to think about.
It has.
And I think the main takeaway here is smart maintenance, it's more than just like a tech upgrade.
It's bigger than that.
It's like a whole new way of thinking. How we do maintenance, how we work, how we use tech.
It's a whole new world. So say someone's out there listening and they're like, okay, smart maintenance, I'm intrigued.
Right.
Where do I even begin?
That is the question. And I think first things first, you got to understand, what smart maintenance can actually do.
For you.
For you, for your company, for your situation. What are your pain points?
And things that keep you up at night.
Exactly. Where are you losing efficiency? Where are things breaking down? Once you know that, then you can start looking at the different tools, the different solutions out there.
So you're not just buying the shiniest, newest thing.
No. It's about finding the right tool for the job.
But it's not just about the tools, right?
No way.
You need the right people.
You got to have the right people with the right skills. That's where training comes in. Development. Investing in your people.
And that whole culture thing we talked about, making sure everyone's on board, working together, being creative. Smart maintenance, it sounds like it's as much about people as it is about, robots and algorithms.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
The companies that really nail this, they're the ones who get their people excited about this stuff. Give them the power to use it. Exactly. This has been, honestly, so insightful.
It has.
I feel like I have a way better grasp on smart maintenance now.
Me too. But before we wrap up, we've talked about all these potential benefits, but I keep circling back to this idea of what happens to the workers, the people on the ground? In this future where smart maintenance is, everywhere.
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough to say for sure, but I think, if you look at history, if you look at how technology changes things, the skills that are going to be most valuable, they're going to be the things machines can't do. At least not yet.
The things that make us human.
Yeah. Creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, being able to connect with other humans.
So it's not about like us versus the machines. It's
Right.
about figuring out how to work together.
Exactly. It's about using their strengths, our strength, and creating something even better.
I love that. Man with machine.
Not man versus machine.
That's a great way to put it. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of smart maintenance.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
We did. Thanks to everyone for listening and, keep those brains humming.
Keep learning.
Keep exploring. And we'll catch you next time for another deep dive into, well, who knows what exciting topic.
Can't wait.